wedding planning podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wildly Wed, the real wedding planning podcast. We're on episode 3.
Can you believe it?
No. So I am Keshira of Keshira Creative Events. I'm a wedding planner and stylist.
And I'm Vicky Edwards from Spot On Ceremonies, and I am a celebrant. So in this episode, we are talking dirty, rotten scammers, because there's been a lot of that about lately. We're also going to be doing a little bit of venue hunting and talking about the importance of your on-the-day timeline. And of course, we'll have our top tips too. But yes, let's focus in on scammers, because that is very timely. There seems to be a lot of it about at the moment. Keshira, where do we start with this?
Yeah, do you know what? We weren't even planning on talking about this at the moment, but like you say, there's been a lot of it around, and I keep seeing and hearing of couples being let down, of suppliers being let down as well within the industry. And I did an Instagram reel about scams, and I had over 3,000 views in the first 24 hours. And I thought, ooh,
touched a nerve.
Yeah, we probably need to talk about this. So just wanted to highlight a few ways that people can hopefully either avoid scams or just ways to think about things before you jump into things. And one of the biggest scams that I've seen actually over the last year really is people on Facebook offering neon lights for free. This is happening, and it's like they write a post and there's all these beautiful neon lights with words, and they say, oh, I'm just training, so we're offering free lights, and give us your details. And then you give them your details, and then they say, oh yeah, but we need you to pay for postage, or oh, that colour you want is going to cost a tiny bit extra, and they're getting money out of people like that. So that is a scam that is like
It's quite prevalent at the moment,
It's quite prevalent, but it's also probably an easier one to spot. But people are getting sucked in. And unfortunately, I'm finding couples coming to me for this year, for 2025, saying, actually, I've really been let down by a venue. I've really been let down by a caterer. I've been let down. And I'm thinking, okay, how can we avoid that? And before I go into the top tips of avoiding scams generally, the first thing we need to talk about is making sure you've got wedding insurance.
Yes. Oh, please, please, please don't think about going into this without insurance. It's madness.
Because some of these things, we're using the word scam, some of them aren't scams, unfortunately. Some of them are
genuine.
Yeah, they're genuine, and they're businesses that just haven't been able to make it through for whatever reason. And in those cases, that's where your insurance comes into play. Now, when we're talking about scammers and really getting into those dirty, rotten scammers, how do we avoid them? Well, my advice would be making sure you check out their online presence, check out their socials, check out their website. Are all their photos the same? Have they got photos, or have they got posts where they've collaborated with other people? Have they collaborated with other suppliers?
So you're really looking for authenticity.
Yeah, real stuff. Like, is there a photo of an actual wedding or event on their website, on their socials? And do they have any Google reviews? You don't have to have millions of Google reviews, but if people are genuine, and actually when you read the reviews, if they don't sound botty, and they don't sound like an AI, oh my God, they were the best thing in the world and they're amazing, then take a look at them and see if they've got reviews. They're probably real. And can you speak to a human before you pay a penny?
Yeah, that for me is a deal breaker, surely.
Yeah, and even when you speak to that human, do you trust them? Do they sound like they're going to do what they say? But yeah, make sure you speak to someone before you hand over any money.
Yeah.
And speak to your suppliers. Again, word of mouth in the wedding industry is fantastic. Suppliers really champion each other. So if there's something you're not sure of, just reach out to another supplier you've already got booked, or reach out to a wedding planner and ask the question, does this feel real? Does it feel right?
So really it is just, and it's very easy, I think, when you're wedding planning, you get very excited about stuff. It's so easy to get carried away, but it is just that take a step back, just take another look at it. And as you say, if you're not sure, do ask. Don't plough ahead, because you potentially could lose quite a lot of money and time, critically as well, because then, of course, you've got to go and replace what you've lost. So it's time as well as money.
And emotion, like emotionally, if you've got your heart set on something, you think you've sorted it, and then you've got to go find it again. It's a lot of energy and effort. What I will say in all of this, this does not mean do not use new suppliers, because you still want, everyone starts somewhere.
Sure.
But just make sure those new suppliers are ones that have come with some form of recommendation, or that you know of them and you've seen a bit of their work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd absolutely champion anyone starting out in business and try and, just work out if they're the right people for you.
But ultimately, if it sounds too good to be true, as the old adage says, it probably is.
Oh, yes.
Wildly Wed, the real wedding planning podcast.
Okay, so let's move on now. Let us go on a venue hunt. I love a venue hunt. But that, I think, can also be a bit daunting from the outset. I mean, where the hell do you start? So over to you, Madam Planner.
Yeah, venue hunting is actually my favourite bit at the beginning. But it can be, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of different styles, there's a lot of different sizes, a lot of different prices. And working with a couple, getting to the point of them understanding what it is they actually want.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's where you've got to start. And actually, sometimes you really don't know. So then it's kind of like dress shopping as well. You have to try a little bit of everything and go around, see what you like. But where to start? I would start with going back to your mood board and your priorities. First thing we said when we started out episode 1 is, what are your priorities? And then building that mood board that we talked about last episode. What do things look like? And that should guide you as to what style of venue you want. You need to know the location and your guest numbers ideally.
Right, okay.
I mean, you can have a rough guess. I'm not saying you need to know, yes, there's going to be 89 people. It's just, is there going to be 40? Is there going to be 150?
Because that makes your venue a very different proposition.
Yeah. Do you need accommodation?
Ah, yeah.
There's a lot of different things. Where are you legally getting married? Are you doing it on the same day? Are you having a celebrant ceremony? There are a lot of things to think about. But before you think about any of that, getting back to the mood board, back to your priorities, getting that location right is key. And I was looking at surveys, because I like my surveys.
You do.
I like data. And the annual wedding survey for 2024 suggested that hotels made up 20% of venues, barns 18%, religious buildings 18%, which was down, I think, quite significantly.
Yeah.
Country house or a manor house 16%, registry office 12%. I mean, I haven't done the maths to add those up and see if they come to 100, but I'm guessing aside from those, then you've got your alternative venues.
And these are the ones that excite us most.
Absolutely. I went to a fab one yesterday, and I'll have to talk about it in the future episodes. But there's fields, there's breweries, your family home, pubs, restaurants, the beach, vineyards, so many things. There's so many places.
And I think it's also really important to say that if you go looking for a wedding venue, don't just go looking for somewhere that says it caters for weddings, because unless you particularly want to do your legal ceremony on the same day as a celebrant-led ceremony, you can actually have your wedding anywhere if you're just having a celebrant. And that might be your favourite nightclub. It might be on the beach or, wherever, a boatyard. The world is your oyster, really, when it comes to ceremony spaces and wedding spaces. But don't just go looking for places that specialise in weddings. No. Broaden your search, I tell you. Only good can come of it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of what I like to do with couples that I work with, is I like to bring up places that they would never have even thought of. But it's getting to know that couple, getting to know what it is that you love. If you know, we love going for walks in forest, we love going to the woods, or we love going to the beach, then find somewhere in those locations, because they exist. But it takes a lot more time.
Legwork, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and so if you want to narrow that down, find someone that knows those bits, especially in your local area. There are so many non-wedding venues, I say in inverted commas, that are perfect for weddings.
Sure. And so when it comes to that search, where do you search?
There's again, it's like going and doing kind of compare the market or something. There are directories galore. The biggest ones I'd say are Hitched, Bride Book, Rock My Wedding, but then there's some smaller ones as well. Coco Wedding Venues, I mentioned in a previous episode, have some really gorgeous curated venues on their directory, and they're really lovely people to speak to as well. And the Alternative Wedding Fair, you might look at it and go, oh, I don't want to go to a wedding fair, but if you're looking for an alternative solution to any of your suppliers, they have a whole directory of suppliers and venues. So go and have a look around at some of those things. Otherwise, go back to Yell, go to Google, type things in your search browser, ask ChatGPT what to type in. I don't know. But, there's lots of different ways. And the other things to look at is your likes of your Airbnbs or private lettings companies, holiday lets and things. You've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that if you're going for something like an Airbnb, that they allow parties, that they are happy.
Because they don't all, that's for sure.
There are probably less than you'd think that do. However, there are some great spaces out there, and they're going to probably be at a better rate than a traditional venue.
And as you said, some of them do allow parties. I did a wedding last year, actually, at an Airbnb property in Kent at an old Oast house, and it was beautiful, really absolutely stunning. And the couple found that simply going through Airbnb. So an awful lot of resources there. So it's just tapping into all of those. But the other thing I think is worth mentioning as well is the power of the hive mind. So one of my first weddings actually was on a beautiful farm, and I asked the couple, how did you find this? Because it's not a farm it's a working farm. They don't do weddings routinely. Tracing it all the way back, it came from her lash technician. Yeah. She happened to mention when she was having her lashes done, they wanted somewhere different to get married. What they had in their hearts was they really wanted to be by a lake, but somewhere very rural. And her lash technician said, oh, I know, one of my other clients is a farmer's wife. And so that's where that came from. So sometimes it's just, once you know what you want, tell everyone and anyone.
Yeah.
In the queue in the supermarket, when you go to your lash technician, when you go to the doctors, just put it out there and see what comes back.
And I think I've got quite a good example of how this worked for me. I looked at everything when I wanted to get married. I was searching everywhere. I was like, I know what I want. I know what my husband-to-be was looking as well, but he was coming to all these things and we were going, oh, it's not quite right, not quite right. He then went, oh yeah, I've got a mate that I went travelling with when I was younger. He's got some kind of field or something and he does bushcraft and stuff in it. Maybe he knows somewhere. We went and saw this mate of his, and I had to listen to all the tales of old.
Yeah.
And that was our venue. Walked in, I was like, this is it. And that's where we got married. But yeah, really think about who you know.
Yeah. And just look back through your dress book, see who's going to be useful to you. But I think you're right, there are so many resources. It might seem a bit overwhelming, but you know what? Tap into all of them and enjoy it. Venue hunting is just the best. But when it comes to, let's say you found your venue, or you think you found your venue, what do you ask? What are the key questions you should be asking at that point?
Well, let's go back to, how many numbers, hopefully, at this point. So you need to see what the capacity is. You obviously need to know what the availability is. It depends.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
Some people have a specific date, there might be a date that you really want, so you just need to check on that. Sometimes you might be more open to it, but capacity, availability are the first things I'd ask. Set up and take down timings, really key. Do you need to set up on the morning of the wedding and be out that evening? Or can you have it for a couple of days? Do you get it the day before? Can you take everything away the next day?
So, day before you can have a rehearsal maybe if you wanted to.
Yeah, or just feel a bit more relaxed knowing that you're in. And I love that. I love that about places where you can get in before and you don't have to pack up at the end of the night.
I think
pressure's a lot. But also if you have an on-the-day coordinator, that can kind of help ease that. But I still think for your sanity, sometimes it's nice to have done things before. Accommodation as well, like I said, do you need it? Do you not? Asking them if they've got a recommended or preferred suppliers list. Now, this can be a tricky one.
It can.
Some venues will have a recommended suppliers list, and that's fantastic. That's suppliers they've worked with in the past, and they'd say, yeah, we know they're great. Some will have a preferred suppliers list, and that normally means they're the suppliers we want you to use.
Okay.
Now, that is absolutely fine if you love those suppliers and think they're the right fit for you. I think sometimes you might need to go, okay, let's just check on that before we pay our booking fee.
Yeah.
Let's look into those suppliers and check, firstly, that they're within our budget. And secondly, that they firstly, they do what we want them to.
Yes.
Secondly, are they within our budget? Let's get it the right way round. So, yeah, that's something to be aware of. And also ceremony licence. You don't need to get married there legally. You don't have to have your ceremony at your wedding venue if you don't want to. You can go for a celebrant.
Yeah, of course.
But if you want to get married at the venue, just check that they're licensed or what the licence is. Look at accessibility, making sure if you've got babes in arms, if you've got pushchairs, if you've got people that have accessibility needs, make sure that you can accommodate those. And any restrictions, times,
Parking,
decor.
Oh, yes, of course. Some people will have, there are venues as well. You might want fireworks. Some venues won't go for fireworks. Confetti even, yeah. So all of those little bits of detail need drilling down into.
Yeah.
We like that. We like to be thorough, belt, braces and comprehensive.
Sounds good.
Wildly Wed, the real wedding planning podcast.
Okay, so let's talk about on-the-day timelines. And I think we mentioned before there's an overall timeline of wedding planning, and then there's the on-the-day timeline. And so many people that I speak to come unstuck here because they just don't know how long things should take, how long they want things to take.
Well, if you've never been married before, you wouldn't, would you? So, again, this is where you tap into your planner and really they will be able to give you the best possible guide.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I do as a wedding planner. I will give you a document, a spreadsheet that's got timings on there. It can be as much of an overview or as minute detail as you want it to be. But realistically, the first thing you've got to think about is you can't send out your invites if you don't know what time you're starting. So you've got to get that bit right.
Yeah, let's nail the start time at least. Do you know your eyes light up when you say the word spreadsheet? I find that quite disturbing. But from your start time, let's assume that you're having your ceremony at your venue of choice. And that is really key, is you need to know how long that's going to take. Now, if you're just going for the legal option, the registrar coming in, then they will be able to tell you exactly, almost to the minute, how long it will take. But you need to add to that, of course, your photographs that are going to happen at the ceremony, whether you're having confetti or if you're having a celebrant-led ceremony, which will be longer because we like to take our time and we like to tell your story good and proper in all its technicolor glory. But so you need to work with either your registrar or your celebrant to really understand that. And then with your photos, with your confetti, talk to your planner. How long is it going to take to get people from A to B if we want our confetti shot to be in the field next door or in the room next door or out on the balcony or wherever? It's all those sort of logistical things that you really need to iron out. So really get to grips with how long that big sort of element of ceremony and the bits that go around that are going to take.
Yeah, and your photographer will be a massive help there because it depends on what you've asked for. Do you want 17 shots of your family? Do you just want a quiet 10-15 minutes, just the two of you, after the ceremony, a bit of downtime, just to kind of go, we got married! Like, what is it that you want from that? So you've got to think about that as well. And then after you've got married, after you've had your celebrant-led ceremony or your actual registrar ceremony, it's about your reception. So moving on to that. So where is it? How long does it take for you to get there? I've had various different things. So you can, I've had people that have got married exactly where their reception is, and that's great. That's straight in. Mm. But I've got one coming actually this year where it's going to be a 45-minute drive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, between their ceremony and their reception. So you've got to think about that, and you're not necessarily going with your guests. So you've got to let them get there. You've got to get there.
And then you've got to park and get out and walk.
Exactly. And you need to let the caterers know when to start serving, when are the canapes coming out, when are the drinks. So there's a lot of things there, but you'll know what locations you're in. But how long is too long for a reception is something that comes up time and time again. And I think it really depends. Are you offering food?
Is that your deal breaker?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're feeding people, again, depends on the time of day. The later in the day you get wed, the less you need to feed people. But how long have people waited since maybe lunchtime or breakfast, or, is there going to be food there? Is there entertainment? Because as much as you've got to go off and have your photos, you want to go and talk to people, you want to do that. What is everyone else doing at that time?
That can be really dreary, actually. I think we've all been to weddings like that, where you're hanging around waiting for the couple to have their snaps done, and there's no snacks, there's no entertainment, and the weather's not great, and you're then feeling really hacked off because you've spent a fortune on getting here and on getting togged up and presents and what have you, and actually it all then can fall and feel a bit flat.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we're learning is if there's food, Vicky and I are fine for the reception to last.
We're down there
All day and night?
Yeah.
As long as you feed us, we're
coming.
good for it. But weatherproof is, like you just made a point.
Yeah.
Does everyone want to stand if it's outside and it's not great weather or it's a bit chilly? How long are you leaving them standing there for without anything to do? But a really good thing to introduce to receptions, and I've had this most of my weddings last year did this, is bringing in a speech before you go and sit down. So there could be a speech in that reception time. So you don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want, but you really don't have to wait to be seated to have a speech. You could just have a lovely speech outside, inside, wherever you want, as long as you want, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. But that's a good part that you could bring into the reception, depending on how many speeches you want. It's also generally really lovely for the person making the speech because
they get it over with.
And all the time I have people, especially like father of whoever or groomsmen, bridesmaids, whoever it is, coming going, oh my God, is it time for my speech?
And that, I mean, going back to what we discussed a couple of episodes ago about guest experience, your wedding party are also your guests. And as much as they will want to express their love for you and their support for you and make that speech, whoever they are, it might be that that's not the most natural thing in the world for them to do. So giving them your blessing to do it earlier on. And there's nothing wrong with playing with tradition like that. Who says you've got to have the speeches after you've had dessert or, But as you say, apart from anything else, it can just be a really perfect sort of filler.
Absolutely.
A very lovely and heartfelt one, but it takes the pressure off the day, it takes the pressure off the individual as well.
I think it's really important. And you'll know your friends and family, you'll know who you're asking, so just have a chat with them and see how they feel. And then we're going backwards a bit. How long does it actually take to get ready before you even do the ceremony?
Yeah.
Hours. Hours and hours. And
so we're talking about hair, makeup, getting dressed.
Yeah, just the whole thing. Having some breakfast, making sure you leave room if you need to do a last minute kind of scribble of your thoughts, or you need to take a little bit of a breather, maybe.
Nervous wheeze.
Oh, the nervous
Always
wheeze.
Always build in a nervous wheeze.
What about a nice swim? Do you want to go for a little swim before you get married? I don't know. That's not me. I'd never go for a swim before but lots of people like swimming. No.
I like swimming. I'm not going swimming on my wedding day. Get a grip.
Who knows? But it generally will take quite a while to get ready.
What if a cheeky little 5K?
All right, what about going to the pub?
Better.
Thank you. So how long do you want to leave to get ready? Something to think about. How long do you allow for your wedding breakfast? Kind of similar to what we said about the reception. How many courses is your meal? Are you having sharing? Are you having...
Is it a buffet?
Yeah, and speeches go into that as well. Is there like a playlist in the background? Is there not? Are people able to get up? Is it casual? Is it formal? So lots of things to think about, but it depends on how many courses you've got. And your caterer should be able to tell you, actually, we need this much serving time between courses. It depends on how many people you've got.
Yeah, so it's going to take us
people?
this long to clear and serve the next course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good time for a band to start whenever you want a band to start. What do you want? What's your curfew on your venue? I had a wedding last year. They wanted everyone to be done. They said, we want the kids to enjoy the band. We want to be done by 10 o'clock.
Oh, right, okay.
So, that's a bit earlier than most. Most are probably midnight. So everything came a bit earlier. It's not a problem. It's whatever you want. But make sure when you're doing your on-the-day timeline as well, you include a setup and take-down plan. So whether that is, like we said, whether it's the day before, whether it's on the day, and what happens after. Is it the night of or is it the next day? Who's doing what? And just knowing where those things are going, because that is part of your on-the-day timeline. Having a plan.
And with that, I suppose the obvious thing that goes hand in hand with that is make sure that you include all those important contact details for all those suppliers concerned and all those key members of the wedding party. Create something, whether it is one of Keshira's favourite little spreadsheets or whether it's a WhatsApp group or whatever. Make sure that everyone is literally on the same page in terms of being able to reach out and contact any person that might have any responsibility for any part of that organisation.
Love it. Exactly.
You see, I'm no good with spreadsheets, but I do like a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I keep it up here in my head.
Love a spready.
Wildly Wed, the real wedding planning podcast.
Time for our sustainability tip. And we're looking at how you can reuse items throughout the day. And you've got a cracker for us, Keshira.
I love talking about flowers. I think they can be reused multiple times and in multiple ways. So, for example, you've got a bouquet.
You have.
You walk down the aisle, where do you put your bouquet? Well, generally people hand it over to someone else. Well, you do not necessarily need to have another floral display on your register table. You can pop your bouquet down there. There's your flowers done.
Ah, I like that.
You don't need to have another display there. You can then pick up your bouquet. What happens to your bouquet in your wedding breakfast?
Well, sometimes you toss it, I suppose, at some stage.
Yeah, it's not... I mean, I haven't seen anyone do that recently either. So, you know, if that's a tradition that might be slightly...
Don't give a toss.
Don't give a toss. But you could always use your bouquet as... Put it in a vase on the table at your wedding breakfast. Make it part of the decor.
Yeah.
So it's all about how you can use one thing multiple times throughout your day. And that makes it a slightly more sustainable option.
Actually, I saw a beautiful one last year, bridal bouquet used on the same table as they'd set aside for gifts and cards.
Perfect.
And it dressed it absolutely beautifully. So, yes, absolutely. Mobile flowers, mobile bouquet, that's what we like.
Love it. And then we're going to talk about our DIY tip.
Yeah, now this, well, we're sort of still on flowers, I guess, because, and this came from something that you did at your wedding, but that I've seen done as well, and it's a really lovely touch. Grow your own, people.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about those beautiful little table decorations, and sometimes it might just be a single flower in a little bud vase on the tables or wherever people are seated. But grow your own. And now you did this, didn't you?
Yeah, and I was going to take all the, what's the word? Credit, thank you. It actually wasn't me, it was my husband. He grew loads of flowers. We grew all the dahlias, peonies, zinnias, absolutely stunning. He worked so hard. And then what we did is I still used a floral designer, still spoke to florists about it, and we integrated some of our flowers into the day. And actually my bouquet ended up being all our grown flowers. Oh. And I just think if you can DIY something, if you've got little green fingers there, give it a go. But don't rely on it, because if you've got a bad year or your flowers don't grow, you need something to fall back on. So still talk to those florists and those floral designers to make sure that you're planned.
Yeah, and that it will come together as best it can, but you've got a fallback position.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like that. We like that a lot. And now we move on to our top wedding tip from a supplier. And this month's tip comes from Lucy Davis, photographer.
So my top tip for you is when picking your photographer, choose someone that you really gel with and that you really feel like you get along with, and there's someone that you feel would be one of your friends, because when you're picking your photographer, they're going to be with you all day and they're going to be with you right from getting ready in the morning. They're going to be helping you throughout the morning, mixing with all your friends, your bridesmaids, your family, and then obviously throughout the day they're going to be with you during your portrait session. So you want someone that you feel comfortable around. and that just brings the best out of you and gets you laughing and that you feel you could chill out with.
Oh, thank you so much, Lucy. It's so important. I was talking to a couple this morning about this. You've got to get on with your suppliers because you spend a lot of time with them. So thank you, Lucy. That's perfect. And also, I would say Lucy is a fantastic photographer. Worked with her before, so it's really lovely to have some trusted suppliers.
We love Lucy.
So next time, what are we doing?
Our next one, it is all about ceremonies. Standing on ceremonies, dancing on ceremonies, swinging from the chandelier, if you please, on ceremonies. But yes, so we're focusing, really homing in on ceremonies and all the various wonderful and beautiful options.
Love that. Thank you so much for listening to us. We've been Keshira and Vicky at Wildly Wed Podcast. You can find us on Apple or Spotify, Instagram at Wildly Wed Pod. We'd love to hear some of your dilemmas as well.
Hit us up with your dilemmas. What are you dreading or worried about? Tell us, please.
Send them in, but speak soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Say I do to the Wildly Wed Podcast. Follow us on Insta at Wildly Wed Pod.